Hey everyone, I'm John Lynn, the founder and chief editor at Healthcare IT Today. We're excited to bring you another in our series of interviews with top leaders in health IT. And our guest today is Dr. Angela Shippy. She's Amazon Web Services Clinical Innovation Lead for Healthcare and Senior Physician Executive. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I mean, this is quite the production at reInvent, quite an event. But before we dive into some of the announcements and things you're working on here, tell us a little bit about yourself and Amazon Web Services, or as we most of us know it as AWS.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Angela Shippy. I'm the Senior Physician Executive for the nonprofit healthcare team, an internal medicine physician by training. I practiced as a hospitalist for many years, and I've also had Chief Medical and Chief Quality Officer roles. I have been an end user of technology my entire career. AWS is really, it is the global cloud platform that organizations have been using for more than 17 years with the broadest and deepest set of services that allows them to have a secure, accurate, and reliable platform in the cloud.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that annoys me about cloud is that there's so many misconceptions that continue to be perpetuated, and even what is cloud these days. Talk to us about what you think are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about cloud.
I think one of them is that the cloud is not secure, and that's not true. We have organizations that are financial institutions, military, government organizations who have their data in the cloud. They're highly regulated, just like healthcare. So I think for those healthcare organizations that are still wondering, can I securely put my data in the cloud? They absolutely can.
Yeah. I think the discussion I usually hear is the cloud is more secure if it's configured right. So I think it's more understanding how to do it properly that is key right now. Is that what you're kind of experiencing with the customers?
I like the way you frame that. Our customers have the opportunity to securely have HIPAA-eligible services architected in the cloud that allow it to be secure. And we absolutely help them with that. We have a framework in which we can ensure that they have a secure network, and we walk them through how to do that.
Yeah, interesting. So how have you seen health systems working with AWS? What are some of the maybe common use cases or pain points that they're trying to solve?
Over the last year, I've had the opportunity to talk with many health systems across the country of all sizes. And there are three main areas that they're really focused on right now. One is what is happening with their margins. That's related to supply cost, the cost of labor, and the cost of care. And part of the way that they're working with AWS is being able to utilize their data from a predictive analytics standpoint. So then they can see, what is the volume going to be? What exactly should my staffing be for that time? What supplies do I need? So that's giving them the opportunity to have the operational efficiency that they need and really help bring down those costs.
Interesting. Are there some times where maybe like a full public cloud option doesn't really make sense, that we should consider more hybrid cloud or maybe some other options that are available?
I mean, we think that in the future, all workloads will be in the cloud, but it takes a while to get there. And as organizations are migrating, they're going to want to run their data on-prem that looks just like their data in the cloud. And so we have ways to help them do that when they're during their time of transition.
Interesting. You think it's going to be in the cloud even for rural organizations and people like that maybe don't have as good a connectivity?
Well, one of the things that we're doing in AWS Healthcare is ensuring that all health systems, whether they're urban or rural, have the opportunity to be in the cloud and bringing tools and resources to them to help them do that.
Interesting. Well, FTC is trying to connect them as well with lots of funding for rural internet. So hopefully that helps. Talk to us about what's really included in this term kind of cloud these days. I just came out of one of the keynotes here, and it's like there was almost no mention of cloud hosting. It was all AI. But so talk to us about what you see is included in this term kind of cloud.
We see the cloud as a business accelerator. As organizations continue to put their data in the cloud, they're going to see opportunities to do more for their customers. So we see them taking advantage of the cloud to help them with cost optimization, to help them free up resources in their organization. So instead of spending all of that time worried about servers, now they're doing more with the data that's giving them information, that's leading to insights, that's allowing them to better provide for their customers. And in healthcare, what that means is being able to do more for the stakeholders. So for instance, we know that the workforce right now is saying we need an environment that allows us to have the tools and trainings that we need right at our fingertips. Well, when you have data in the cloud, when you're utilizing cloud technology, then you're able to do that. So now for the workforce in healthcare, they can have automated tasks that are duplicative, those that are not really allowing them to work at the top of their license. Now that can be handled by AI or ML, and so they're able to have that ability to work at the top of their license and the resiliency that they need every day. Because we know that when we look at the resiliency in healthcare, a big part of that is being able to work at the top of your license.
Yeah. I think the other thing that stood out to me was the way that they talked about the generative AI and other AI solutions, and how in order to get the insights from that data, you just pointed at the Amazon Lake or the the S3 instance or whatever it might be, and then it pulls those insights. If it's on-prem, that's not going to, that's harder to do, I guess. Is that kind of how you're seeing it evolve as well? Is that when it's in the cloud, then you're able to leverage these AI insights?
I think one of the things that organizations have to do first is really look at what is their cloud strategy. And part of defining that cloud strategy is what are their strategic goals and what is the mission that they want to accomplish. So when that's clear, then you can start to look at storage. You can look at compute. You can look at databases. Once you have that basic infrastructure, then you can start to move up the stack, utilizing AI and ML to help you do more and to get to where you want to be with your data. So you've got to really be ready to use the emerging technology that's available, like Gen AI.
Yeah. No, it was also interesting to see how they were leveraging the different styles of storage that come at different price points. Obviously, if it's a radiology image that you aren't going to look at for another 3 years, it makes sense to put it in a data lake or in some other storage that's less expensive. And so, the ability to span all of those seems like it's going to be a really important feature for healthcare organizations.
The ability to have tiered storage so that what you need is readily available, and that what you don't need, it can be in glacier storage. That makes a huge difference in terms of cost, and it allows you to have all the data that you need in healthcare available for whatever situation that you're in clinically.
Yeah. So do you see healthcare provider organizations working with AWS on their own solutions, or do you see them mostly getting it from partners? I saw, a lot of partners are here that use AWS as well. I saw Suki, who's doing ambient clinical voice. How do you see that? Is it providers coming straight and using AWS themselves, or will it mostly be through their vendor partners?
Well, healthcare provider organizations run the continuum from builder to buyer. Mm-hmm. So right now, many organizations are trying to improve their knowledge of the cloud, we have over 600 online modules available to help them improve their cloud knowledge. Wow. Or they're looking for certifications for those in the IT department. Or they're coming to something like reInvent so they can engage directly. So for those organizations, they're looking to say, do I want to build? Or what they're saying is, I want to have a better understanding so I can work better with my partner vendors who are going to help me build those solutions. And they're looking for solutions that are going to help them have better data analytics. Again, being able to take data that's all across their organization and bring it together so that now they can have better clinical and operational insights. Some of them are looking for help with how are they going to summarize their notes, bring those to the forefront so that all members of the care team can really see them and help take care of patients. So there's many different ways that organizations are looking to work with us in the cloud, and it's either going to be directly or with partners.
Let's talk about more of those examples. Where do you see healthcare kind of embracing AI and ML? And of course, the buzzword of life, really, generative AI, right? Like, where do you see healthcare kind of embracing this and it, seeing traction?
So one of the areas, like I said, is predictive analytics. That's one area where they're really saying, how can I take the data that I have, follow the trends, and be able to better anticipate what I need in terms of providers as well as what I need in terms of supplies. And then another place that we're seeing organizations look at, how do I use generative AI? So when we look at the organizations that are focused on research, now they're saying, I can use generative AI to help ensure I have all the data points that I need for better scientific discovery. actually help it fill in the blanks for information that may not be there. That's one place that's being used within research. When we look at what they want to do in terms of helping their providers, how can they use generative AI to help them better fill in a note, summarize a note, summarize a clinical chart that may be really large so that they can see the insights and better direct that patient to a specialist. We're also seeing them use generative AI to help with the workforce. How can they better allow them to have the ability to utilize the information that they need to provide the care that the patient needs in that particular clinical setting? And then the other place we're seeing it used is directly with the patients. How can the patients be able to have the information they need so the care feels personalized just for them?
Yeah. Now, I have a vision that AI is going to essentially create a note that's personalized to the doctor, to the nurse, to the patient, to the billard, and in a language that they understand, which I think is really interesting. You talk about predictive analytics. Are doctors ready? I mean, you're a doctor, so this is great. Are they ready for that kind of predictive analytics? Do they trust it? Or how do we build that trust to, that's essential if you're going to provide them that analytic?
I mean, certainly for me as a clinician and the way that I was trained, and many of my colleagues are, is when we're learning about a disease process, there are certain aspects of that disease or predictors of that disease that we see. So when we're taking that history, when we're doing the physical exam, the review of systems, all of that information is coming together to give us an idea of what the differential diagnosis could be. What are all that possibilities? And then ultimately using what we just heard, what we listened to the patient when we did the exam, and then all the lab and radiographic images, when we looked at all of that data, what was our final diagnoses? Now being able to take that and then use AI and ML, run that and compute, and be able to have lots and lots of patients and lots of data points and many instances to tell us, now we see that we can predict which patients will have the following disease process. So physicians absolutely have already been doing that and already thinking that way. And now we have the technology in the cloud to help accelerate that and make it faster. And I'll give you a couple of examples.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So for instance, who we play for is an organization looking at sudden cardiac death. Later today, they're going to be on a panel where they're talking about how they took EKGs, being able to put that information, so a diagnostic tool, putting that information, running a model, and seeing which patients were most at risk. We also saw this at UC San Diego. They were looking at chest x-rays to see which patients had pneumonia. During COVID, it became very clear that there were some pathognomonic findings for pneumonia. They were able to take their x-rays, run it through a computational model on AWS, and use that information to help really say which of these patients have COVID. And this was especially important during the time when it was hard to get testing and testing supplies. So there are absolute ways that already organizations are using AI and ML on AWS to be able to predict what's happening with patients. And we, as physicians, we're absolutely ready for it.
Interesting. I mean, there's 2 points here. One is there's so much data, can the human mind even process it? And there's more data coming at us. And the other one is, I think we try to look at AI and say it should be perfect, when it's like doctors haven't been perfect for a long time, forever, right? And so, and they've been treating patients with limited information and partial information. So it's interesting. You kind of mentioned that they've been doing this for a long time. That's kind of the nature of the work, is trying to treat a patient with limited information. Hopefully this provides better information.
One of the things that having more technology, especially coming from the cloud and emerging technology that we have in Gen AI, is it's going to allow all clinicians, physicians, nurses, allied health professionals to have more tools at their disposal. That having those tools at their disposal is going to make it a little bit easier to practice medicine. It's going to make it that much easier to allow more patients to have access. And it's going to make it that much easier to ensure that we're really being able, as you mentioned earlier, to access not only those patients who readily are there and available, but those that might have difficulty getting to care in a rural area.
Interesting. So, yeah, I mean, one of the things that kind of blows me away here at reInvent is how this impacts every industry. I mean, and we even just saw on stage Booking.com talking about the 183 petabytes of data or something like that they're using to improve the experience for travel people doing travel. What should healthcare understand about Amazon AWS and kind of its role in healthcare and what it's doing?
Well, one of the things that AWS is doing in healthcare is really doubling down on being the trusted advisor and partner to healthcare organizations. AWS has had a dedicated practice in healthcare for over 9 years. And the individuals who make up that practice have on average over 18 years of experience. And it's people like me, a former chief medical officer, a physician. It's nurses, researchers, pharmacists, chief information officers, all who have walked in the shoes of our healthcare customers. And so when we are working backwards from their needs, we're able to truly understand what they're saying and collaborate together to find the solutions that they need.
That's so interesting that you say that, because there is this bridge that has to be crossed. I mean, even, listening here, there's another language that's spoken about cloud, about AI, about all of these topics, but there's another language in healthcare too. How challenging is that to kind of bridge the data geeks, for lack of a better term, and the clinical geeks, if you will? We'll call us all geeks. But how do you do that, and what's been your experience with that?
So for me personally, I've been an end user of technology my entire career, starting with I had to start my residency a couple days earlier to learn how to use computerized physician order entry a long time ago before it was commonplace. And so over time, you've seen within medicine this evolution that's happened. We have folks that are now trained in informatics.
Yeah.
And those chief health information officers, chief nursing information officers, chief medical information officers are really helping to bridge that gap within organizations between IT, the clinical staff, and the rest of the leadership team. And so having that expertise on the AWS healthcare side is allowing us to have deep, meaningful conversations with those teams at healthcare provider organizations.
Yeah. Angela, this was an interesting, experience. I appreciate you sharing your insights and perspectives and helping us learn more about what AWS is doing in healthcare. Thanks, everyone, for watching and listening. If you want to find more great healthcare IT content like this, be sure to check it out at healthcareittoday.com or search for Healthcare IT Today on your favorite podcasting applications. Thanks, Angela.
Thank you.